Okay, are we up yet? Says we're up. Why aren't we up?
Now you can have an expert do your taxes for you. 100% free. Simple tax returns only. Must file by...
Okay, I think we're up. Yes. Sorry about that, guys. OBS, for whatever reason, did not want to work with me. It kept telling... YouTube kept asking it for one thing, and OBS kept telling me it didn't need that thing. And then YouTube said, yeah, you need that thing. So, okay, third try. There might be some little stuff in the background. My mic is usually good about not picking up background information, but my cat, Lord Humongous, earlier this week ate the baffler. So, gotta love Lord Humongous and his hatred of everything that I hold dear. Okay.
Or at least foam.
Yeah, or at least foam rubber. All right, so the art is done by Nathaniel Southall. He was the winner of a art contest on the Fantasy Art page. And this was Dark Wolf, or what happens when that you introduce your 6-year-old brother to fantasy with Dark Wolf. All right, so going back into things that you need to watch out for if you're designing a game or if you're reviewing a game or whatever. Still got a little bit of a cough, but nothing near as bad as what it was. All right. One thing that you'll see a lot of people try is to try to get some obscure mechanics. Perfect example of that would be Deadlands, where you designed your character by dealing a hand of cards. Yeah, I'd also feel like I don't have Swamp Lung anymore. At least I'm not coughing up chunks of stuff I needed on the inside. Yeah. So when you want to be careful when you're doing like gimmicky mechanics, because there's a reason why everybody doesn't do gimmicky mechanics. They usually don't work. The rarities of the ones that do work is, for every Falkenstein or Deadlands, there's a dozen more that we don't want to talk about. But granted, if you can get the mechanics to do, when I say gimmicky, I mean not just straight up dice roll using extra stuff or extra randomizers. Like Deadlands used cards, except for when you were playing cards. Amber Diceless obviously was diceless. Then another good one, the Bullwinkle and Rocky used spinners. That one isn't a good example of a great mechanic. They knew it wasn't a great mechanic. They didn't care. It was funny.
Hand puppets!
Yeah, they used hand puppets to show instead of miniatures, and they used spinners instead of dice. And beer to encourage people to play. Okay, Bullwinkle and Rocky was a fantastic game, but unfortunately it's kind of aged out, and it takes a lot to get into playing that game.
Hand puppets!
Yeah. And what I'm trying to... So what the warning is if you're going to do gimmicky stuff, you got to be really careful, because for one thing, it's going to add to the cost of a game. If you have to buy extra stuff, like especially the extra special dice that only work with this game... Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars was a great example of that. You don't try to reinvent the wheel. That really doesn't help your players, and it also makes it really hard to explain to new players. It's like, okay, what dice do I roll? Well, you have these dice, and everyone has a different symbol on it. Every symbol means something else. So let me help you memorize the 80 symbols that you're going to have to know. Don't do that. So let me see. Next up. Do not, under any circumstances, skimp on an editor. I wrote the Mistara Player's Guide by myself because I kind of had to. I didn't have the money. I spent all the money on art. But if you're going to do something professional, you need to have an editor. Never edit your own stuff. Under no circumstances do it. Thank you, House 6153. The Dungeon Master's Guide is $5 further away from getting the art done. That's a lot of art. That's going to be the biggest holdup. I don't want to burn Rubus out. All right. So when you're hiring an editor, you have to check for spelling. I mean, spell checkers go so far, can get you so far, and they can get you a good chunk of the ways. But if you're writing a science fiction or a fantasy book, that's not going to help in the long run. because, well, imagine running Lord of the Rings to a spell checker. It's going to explode. And you have to hire an editor, and editors aren't cheap. There's professional editors out there. And you can get a friend of yours to edit, but if they have no experience at it, they're not going to do the job right. And Grammarly helps a little. I mean, it'll catch the big stuff, but you need somebody to look at it and go line by line. If you have them and you're using a friend who happens to know how to edit, make sure that they're on the same software. If you have to buy them the same software, that's going to be the price of doing business. Because they need to find the double spaces, they need to find where you put a period instead of a comma, you're going to find all the different things. And then you're going to have to just keep going back. You're going to have multiple versions. It's no surprise that it's been 6 months and I'm redoing the player's handbook, though it's not a major revision. I'm just fixing a lot of stuff that people have found. And I've had it run through an editor, and it's the minor stuff that they catch, because people will start noticing all the niggling, spelling errors and stuff. Cyberpunk's notorious for that. Artel Soaring, because when I was revisiting The Witcher, there was typos. There's always typos with Artel. So spend the money, get an editor. All right. Next up, and this is a major problem for anybody that's putting a game together. Start your market before you release your product. Advertise. Spend money on advertising. Get it started at different conventions. Volunteer for conventions and play your game there. Get people to want your game before they even see it in print. And a lot of people is like, hey, I'll release this game, it's going to be great, and people are going to find it, and it's, hey, everybody's going to fall in love with it. I'm going to be the success story of the decade. You're like, no, you're not. You have to separate. You have to make your game stand out. You have to make your game better than everyone else, or at least look better than everything else. The common complaint about the OSR is there's hundreds of games out there in the OSR, and they all look the same. What makes this one different from this one makes it different from that one? Advertising. That's how you get your name out there. You got to get it talked about by certain people. I hate to say it, but if you can pay some of these influencers to advertise your game, that's one of the biggest ways to get your game out there. When you go out to some of the bigger ones and there's like, okay, here's X amount of dollars, here's my game, can you talk it up? And one of the big channels talks it up, you've got 20,000, 50,000 people hearing about your game. It's a lot better than posting it up on there's no magazines anymore, so print media is dead. But if you go to like InWorld or RPG.net, which, the RP, and to a lesser extent, I think there's Dragon Trove, there's the RPG site, there's the Piazza, and the ones that do advertising, you're not going to get the same as if you put it in front of a camera in front of popular people. Not the. I know that a lot of people don't like to do that. They don't want to deal with the influencers, but those influencers have a lot of fans, and those fans have money in theory. And you want their money, so you have to play the game by the rules. You may not like the rules, but that's how you're going to do it. Okay, the next one. This one's a tough one because people don't... This is letting your baby go away for the first time. You need blind play tests. Blind play test is one where people are playing the game and you are not there to watch over it, and they will... in theory, report back to you about how did the game go. And in the game, if you're not there to explain the rules. The downside is one, it's bloody hard to get useful feedback from people at the best of times. If you're there, a lot of the people are going to give you, are going to stroke your ego because they want to make you feel like you're trying, or that they don't want to hurt your feelings if the game's a problem. If the game's a problem, you need to know it during the playtest. That's why you're having the playtest. You tell these people, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you find a problem. That's why you're doing it. And I want you to play it to see if you can without me there to see if you can understand it. Because if you can understand it without me there, then I know I've got the rules right. And if there is a problem, if somebody can break the game, like give this to me, and then I got to go back to the drawing board, make changes, and then the next playtest, I'll give you the rules again. And you can put you can put things on the this new electronic technology just terrifies me. You have to, if you're designing a game, especially when you're doing it to the playtest session, you got to have skin you can put a cigar out on without flinching. Because you've made mistakes. You may not see your mistakes, but there's a reason why you don't edit your own work. Is because you won't see the problems that everybody else can find apparent. If there's a math error, if there's a, not only a typo, a famous one was TSR. When they, for whatever reason, they wanted to get rid of the word mage. They get rid of all the mage stuff. And they wanted to change mage to wizard. So they went in and they said, okay, change this. So all the guy did was do a hunt and search, or a search and replaced every instance of the word mage with wizard, but didn't tell it to only replace whole words. So mirror image became mirror eye wizard. Mage hand became wizard, but everything that was like MAGE became wizard, even if it was in the middle of a word. And this didn't get play tested. This got sent straight to the crowds and the public and all the customers, and it was hilarious. I'm surprised nobody got fired over it, but TSR was not in the best of health at the time, and they didn't last too long after that. Let's see. What else is... Man, I should have been a doctor with my handwriting. Okay, remember, and you have to remember that too much is always better than not enough, but you can overwhelm it. When I say too much is better than not enough, if your book is running short, you're going to have to pad. If your book is running long, you have to cut. It's a lot easier to cut than pad. And you're going to be playing on a hard page count if you want a physical copy. And that's usually what I call the rule of 8. Where, because of the way printers work, you have to have the, not all printers, but most printers, the book has to be divisible by 8 pages. So, 64 pages, 96 pages, 128 pages. Everything will always be divisible by 8. If you have a book that's 94 pages, you got to put in 2 pages of padding for the printer. But if your feedback comes back that there's a lot of stuff that not being used in the book or not even being read, you have to cut it out. And that's one of the reasons why you have to do you make more than you can. On average, I think we cut out about 10% of the magazine because it wasn't needed, but we had the space to move it around, or somebody would buy ads, so we'd have to cut stuff out because ads was how we got paid. God, I miss that magazine. But you want to look at the feedback, and if people are going off so much, or if everybody picks it, the option is too powerful. If nobody picks it, the option is not powerful enough. If the option is not powerful enough and you can't save it, cut it out. If the option is too powerful, you have to cut it down, and even if that doesn't fix it, then it's not a good option for the game and you need to cut it. And I've seen that with a lot of games. Or people that will cut stuff out to try to put it in a supplement, but you have to sell the core game enough to get to your supplements. There's a lot of one-book wonders out there that died because of a lack of rules or a lack of things that you could use. Well, we were going to put it in the supplement. It's like, if they can't play the core game, they're never going to buy your supplement. That's a bad thing. You don't want to flood the market like 3.0, or I guess the glut of OSR games now. That's people that, people forget the past. People forget, back in 2000, there was shelves upon shelves of useless crap, at every game store that was all third party. Why? Because we didn't need it. It was too much. They didn't have anything for it. And then in OSR, you've got, let me see, Lion and Dragon, Osric, Castles and Crusades, and there was one they put out with a list of all the OSR titles. There was almost 200 OSR titles. It's like, okay, what's the difference? You know, you're all remakes of first and second edition. I mean, Hackmaster was a mishmash of first and second edition, but it was comedically complicated, and it was obtained by accident. I think Jolly Blackburn, he does Knights of the Dinner Table. I think that was him. I forget. Well, the guy that did Knights of the Dinner Table. No, Jolly Blackburn does. Who does he do? Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, he does Knights of the Dinner Table. I remembered it right. Yeah. He had a contract that TSR would publish Knights of the Dinner Table in lieu of Dragon Mirth. Another thing that we really, really miss for the old schoolers. And so he had they'd give him money and they would publish a strip from Knights of the Dinner Table, and then they decided they didn't need his services anymore, so they discontinued the contract and still kept publishing Knights of the Dinner Table, even though they weren't paying him. So there's a word for that. I think it's called theft. So he got his lawyers involved, and TSR got their lawyers involved, and Blackburn's or TSR's lawyers found out that Blackburn had them over a barrel. So they made a deal with him. They gave him the rights to first and second edition, and he could make Hackmaster with it. And he did, because at that point it was Wizards, and Wizards like, we got 3.0. We don't need first and second edition. Yeah, you can take these things, and he did Knights of the Dinner Table and Hackmaster. And Hackmaster wasn't a bad game, but it was intentionally complicated. Yeah. How do you say Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous? How do you suggest we do that sort of thing in the Mystara setting? I don't. Oh, let me see. I'm trying to remember my Pathfinder was kind of cut short. Let me see. That's the video game. I'd have to look at it. I haven't played the Pathfinder video games. I thought that was one of the adventure threads or the adventure things. I tried to get into Pathfinder, but some of the players ruined it for me. A lot of the players ruined it for me. Sometimes they get, sometimes gamers get cliquey. It's like, okay, this is our group, and you're not welcome, and this is what we do. And it's like, okay, and it's like, there's a difference between gatekeeping to keep people that are going to disrupt the game out, and just being a dick. If you don't have enough room at the table, just say that. You're not going to hurt our feelings, because nobody wants to play with no dungeon master is going to want to play the game with 15 players. I've actually played games where they had 12 to 15 players, and they were bad. They were fun, but I'm sitting there playing solitaire until it's my turn again, because it's going to be another hour and a half before the game master notices me. And I even liked that game, or that campaign. Oops, hold on. So, yeah, and then you've got the new Pathfinder, which what's a hit here is not. It might be different on the other side of this town. Granted, Houston's about the size of a small state, but that's something that a lot of people don't realize is, like, for a while we had people playing L5R, Legend of the Five Rings, religiously. But if you went to Dallas, never heard of it. Okay, basically it's a game like D&D where the Abyss has a small section in the campaign world. So like Southeast Houston. I shouldn't say that. But yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying don't be anywhere near 288 and 288 and Southmore after dark. All right, but enough ragging on my hometown. Let's see what you get. One thing you need to do when you're designing a game is you need to outline what you want to do, not just in the not just in like writing an outline, like, okay, this is what the game world's going to be. This is going to be some sort of stuff like that. Yeah, I think Texas, if you put it on the map of Europe, stretches from the boot of Italy all the way to just past the Netherlands, so you end up in the water. Good fun. I know, because the other day I had to drive to San Antonio, and that's one of the closer large cities is to Houston, and it's still a 3.5 hour drive, and it's straight. And it's still very far away. But that's why we have low property taxes, because we have a lot of property to tax. We don't have to make it a lot. We get through on volume. But when you're making your outline, not just your story setting to get outlined, but what do you want in your game? What are your stats? What are your, what kind of mechanics are you looking for? Do you want perks and flaws, or merits and disadvantages, etc., etc.? Do you want secondary attributes? Do you want an alignment system? This is everything that you need to discuss with the people that are helping you design the game before you get started. Because you don't want to have to add this later if you realize that this game is missing something. And because you can tell when something's shoehorned in. It's not hard, because it's usually not mentioned at all anywhere else in the stats. Like alignment for Dungeons and Dragons. In 3rd edition, third edition was a lot better written than what 5th did, because they're rewriting 5e right now. But like alignment had a certain effect on the planes. Certain magic items affected alignment. Like Planescape was all about alignment, and then you go to 5e and it's like, meh. It's a character aid. Yeah, it doesn't have any actual effect except for these monsters, these magic items, and we'll take that out as soon as we can. If you ever get an amulet of pure good, like duct tape it to a stick, because it says every time it touches an evil creature, it does 66 points of damage. Yeah, it does a lot more. It's a lot more useful than. It's a lot more useful as a bludgeoning weapon than an actual magic item. So the massive damage and the standard damage, but not well, you have, what you do is you can have, there's a lot of ways to handle answering Pale Rider's question. Palladium Games, because I actually just got somebody sent me the Robotech game to review. You have 2 damage classes. Standard, which is fleshy, squishy stuff, and Mega Damage, which is battleship armor. And the first thing you do is you do not put Mega Damage weapons as man-portable. If somebody wants to hurt a battleship, you're going to need a crew-served weapon. You're going to need something that somebody can't just pull out and take a chunk out of the Starship Enterprise with. That's the first thing. That's the main mistake, is when they miniaturized the weapons designed to hurt vehicles, it made them almost mandatory, and then they started putting out Mega Damage armor, which means it's like, okay, if you don't have one of these super weapons, you're not going to be able to hurt somebody else. And it was just a terrible bit of game design, because eventually, everybody's going to armor up, because why wouldn't you? Just like The Witcher, where the silver sword, the Witcher RPG, the last review I did, where the silver sword is like the Witcher sword, and it does double damage to monsters, but then it gives it to the other characters. And everybody in the game was like running to get silver weapons because they deal double damage against monsters and they're available for a certain amount of money. Why didn't you do it? Yeah, well, let me see, the portable mega damage weapons. 1 point of mega damage is 10,000 points of standard damage. Hey, look, I've got my first spammer. Loveface XYZ online strips without the clothing. Let me hold on just a second. I haven't had one of these person. Das ist wunderbar. Ja. Let me see. Go to hell. Oh. Put user in timeout. Gott in Himmel. Das ist nicht gut. Yeah. Report.
Sexy Asian babes for you.
Yeah. Let me see. Spend $5. Send Yuri and Gregory to break kneecaps. Okay.
I thought it was Vlad and Stanislav.
It's their day. They don't work. This is not their weekend off. So, okay. Yeah, you gotta love the Ukrainian Fiverr video games, or the Fiverr site is like everybody else is like, okay, I'll draw art for $5. I'll sing you a song for $5. I will break kneecaps for $5. Okay. Thank you, Roy. Yeah, I'm hoping that we get some. I know there's some new stuff coming out for Cyberpunk Red. Their last book was just a collection of all the PDFs they've released for free, and I wasn't going to review that because you're selling us stuff you just gave us for free. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then, so, okay, before we were so rudely interrupted by Loveface XYZ, at least I'm big enough to start getting spam bots, that warms the cockles of my heart. I got noticed by, like, Asian Nude Babes 69. Okay, so Palladium broke their own system by putting out by micronizing big guns and putting it into the hands of players. But then they started releasing stuff, and then they started releasing it, the Glitter Boy, where you started off with mega damage weapons. It's like, okay, but Rift players love the power play. If you're going to do it for your game, the easiest way to avoid the Rift's problem is don't do it. It's like, okay, this is my mega super damage weapon. Okay, great. You need to make it very difficult. You need to have like serious drawbacks. What was it? A good example, not a great example, but a good one is the weapons that automatically do aggravated damage in Vampire. They are usually impractical, or they are so bulky that you're going to not be able to go anywhere with them because it's so bloody obvious. Like nobody's going to be walking around with a large flamethrower and have cops not stop them. Hold on a second. Yeah, that was like you have to have like you try to sneak up on a vampire with a running chainsaw. And it does massive mega damage to vampires and, well, anything else. But you don't exactly use a vampire or a chainsaw as a weapon against a vampire or just about anything else, because they have that problem with when you turn it on, they have a pull. And if you're trying to cut straight, it is pulling because the chain is causing it to spin. If you ever take a chainsaw and tied it to a string and crank started it and just watched it go until it runs out of gas, it will just spin in place. It is amazing. Not that I would know. There's a lot of agnostic D100 systems. The problem is they're just very generic, and I mean, RuneQuest and Call of Cthulhu, the Chaosium system was very generic, all D100. And it just becomes basic math, and the games, you can make a game so generic and bland that people don't want to play it because it's just or it just becomes to the point of just math. That's why the D100 generic system for Chaosium never really took off. It's like if everybody's mega damage, then it doesn't. It's the system's balanced because you're not going to have the problems with it. You're not going to have problems with I can't hurt this guy because I don't have any mega damage. Like we've all got mega damage. Okay, something else that you have to remember is it's not what you like when you're designing your game. It's what your players like. It's what they want to play. It's what they like. If you put in a mechanic or you put in a class or and you don't like it very much, but if you look at your reports back from the playtesters and all the reports are glowing, you've got a hit. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. You don't like it. It's not what you like. It's like the comedians. The old comedian thing is like it's not what you find funny. It's what the audience finds funny. If the playtesters like, your character or your game mechanic, and they think it's the greatest thing ever, you keep it in there. It's not hurting anything. Look at nothing was ever supported like GURPS ever was. I mean, Steve Jackson was going around getting, the rights to every, semi-popular game book or a science fiction and fantasy book that he could. And I mean, I played GURPS Supers, and we had people trying to bring in stuff from Riverworld and Harn and I forgot there was like the one that was the Martians. It was like there was like GURPS it's a hard game to review because it is generic, but if you wanted to play anything, there's going to be a book for GURPS about it. Even if some of the mechanics when they translated over, like the Star Trek or the what was it? They did Star Trek and they did with the Auto Duel. That was Superhero Mad Max. Yeah, that one went over well, but that was mainly for Champions. But yeah, GURPS has always got everything, but again, the system is so math heavy that it gave Champions a run for its money, and but it was a lot more popular here because Steve Jackson's based out of Austin, and people will buy the GURPS for their setting books. You're playing GURPS for the setting, not the mechanics. But if we're going back to the it's not what you like. If you make an accidental hit, smile, nod, and pretend it was your idea all the time. I'm out of drink. Okay, and that's what a lot of people that have asked me to look at their games have said. Is like, well, I don't really care for this. You have a great mechanic, leave it in. People like it. It's not harming anything. It's easy to understand. Sometimes people don't need an overly complex system. Sometimes people don't want a in-depth setting. Aberrant. Oh, there are stories about Aberrant. Aberrant is an example. I mean, I played Aeon Trinity to death. GURPS mechanics is 3d6 drop, aim low. But Aberrant was it started off good. It had a decent system. It was very easy to min-max. And it was, I didn't like, I liked Aeon Trinity a lot better because it was the first and the game was a lot better written. And it was a lot more grounded because you're playing, like, okay, we're slightly better than humans compared to Aberrant, where we're superheroes, and if I have 1 point of mega damage, I punch you and automatically do dead +3 to any squishy human that I hit. And then the Aberrant game designer went a little loopy. And White Wolf has always been a fairly progressive company. I mean, that's, they're the ones that introduced blood and sex and all of that, and to the game or to the gaming world, and made it dark, and we've got all the the pagans and stuff like that, and we hate capitalism for the werewolves, and so White Wolf's always been left leaning. You can't deny that. Aberrant made them look like the John Birch Society because the author, for whatever reason, he's probably having a rough time of it, went all in on making the game as gay as possible. I mean that all of the good guys were homosexuals and all of the bad guys were anti-homosexuals, but probably closeted homosexuals to begin with. And that's not an exaggeration. They actually took the game away from him because he would not get off every storyline being about the super duper powerful Diva Small, the greatest superhero of all time, who was pretty much an author insert, who was very gay and would introduce himself by saying, "Hi, I'm Diva Small, the gay superhero." And he would fly around. He couldn't be hurt. He couldn't be damaged. And he would go and find people that didn't like the fact that he was gay and kill them. And this was the storyline where it was supposed to be, okay, the original storyline was what happens when superheroes start mutating and becoming, not human anymore. And they just went way off the rails. It's like, I don't know the whole story about it. I've had some people try to explain it to me, but White Wolf just kind of quietly removed him from his own project. And by that time, White Wolf was going into the next phase of all of the original people are gone, and the new people don't want to continue. That's why Aeon Trinity got left on a cliffhanger. And this is over 20 years ago when this happened. And it was just, when you've got one guy that you hire, it's like, okay, we have similar politics, and then you find out his politics are way off the rail. It's like, you gotta, it was, the background of the story was a lot more interesting than the actual game. Yeah. I played Brave New World a couple of times, but by the time we actually tried to get into it, they had moved on. So I never got to see it. What else do we have? Let's see. Another thing. One thing that's always bugged me, and mechanically it doesn't work, is Confrontation. Which one was that one? I've played, I think I did, but don't quote me. Sounds... Wait, was that that was a miniatures game, wasn't it? The Confrontation I was thinking of was the miniatures game, and I was playing Chronopia at the time. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is the one. No, I saw it, but I was playing Chronopia, trying to actually win with the Sons of Kronos. That was a mistake. Yeah, let's make the glass cannon army, and then just everybody just hold your fire until you come out of the forest, and then all of your guys die. because you don't have any armor, and they're shooting enough arrows to wipe you out. But they did have some sweet-looking miniatures for Chronopia. Game wasn't very good, but yeah. So okay, but what I was saying is the oh god, what was it? I lost my train of thought. Okay, some games like to let you spend XP, not like bookish amounts of XP, not like not like D&D where you get like, okay, you get 1,000 XP, but it's like you get you get 1 or 2 XP, but then you can spend, rather than spending it to improve your character, you can spend this to boost a die roll. And there's the games that I've seen this done: 7th Sea, Legends of the Five Rings, Deadlands. What was it? The Star Trek one. I forgot which. I gave the book a scathing review, but hold on just a second. People getting water. Okay, it's all right. But what you do is you're spending these limited amounts of XP to get a limited boost. You could do it also in the Marvel Superheroes. In fact, the Marvel Superheroes game, people spent the XP more for in-game benefits than they did to actually improve their character. Or as some people said that we never spent karma on our characters. We only spent karma to geek the telepath, because you had to get the telepath out of the way first. And it doesn't really work mechanically. Firefly, that was another one that did it. And people are going to usually hoard them. They're never going to spend them. The mechanic doesn't get used very often. Deadlands is an example, or is an exception, because they had 3 levels of the bonus chips. The white, red, and blue. So people would hoard the blue and possibly and usually the red, but they'd spend white chips like nobody's business, because you mainly got nothing but white chips. What, Pendragon? Oh, Pendragon was... God, I haven't played Pendragon in years. I remember the thing with Pendragon was it was the... you could... it was a generational game, which... for people who liked King Arthur and stuff like that, was a fantastic system, but it was a hard sell for your regular people. We played it, I don't know, about 3 months, and then we switched it. It's hard to sell people on King Arthur as an RPG, because you're not playing King Arthur, you're not playing Lancelot, you're not playing the Killer Bunny. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why Pendragon is considered a well-written game, but it's never really that of a popular one. Yeah, I just remember playing that one, and remembering it's like, it's great, but do we really want to just keep playing this for generations on generations? And then that's when we started playing GURPS Supers. Yeah, and we broke that game too. Oh my God, did we break that game? Yeah, the alterability. It's like, I can pick this up and permanently turn it into something else. You want to ruin an economy? Yeah, start turning mud into gold. But the burning XP for... no, I have not seen Perfect Class PDF. Have not seen that one yet. Burning XP for in-game bonuses... usually is a point of diminishing, quickly reaches the point of diminishing returns, because if you're spending it to gain temporary boosts, and Star Wars D6 did it, I will do a Mad Musings of anything I can get a copy of. Like I said, right now I'm sitting on Cyborg Commando, Buck Rogers, I got the new Dune one came in today. I got a bunch of Robotech, Recon, also Palladium, which I don't know if that's enough to actually give a review on. You're playing the Palladium system and it's Vietnam. I have got Amber Diceless. I have got the Lone Wolf RPG. God, I wanted to like that one. I really wanted to like the Lone Wolf RPG, but you pick it up, it's like, here's your stats: combat and endurance. That's it. The end. Game over. Like, okay, how do you make an RPG with just 2 stats? Badly. The interlock system, there's a lot of stuff you can take from it. One, well, first off, you got to do something more with that luck stat. That's I like what they did with The Witcher. Yeah, Mad Musings. I'd like to do the Mad Musings more, but they take a lot longer because I research the history of the game. I try to talk to some people that helped design it. I tried to talk to Frank Mincer about Cyborg Commando, but he's really not up on chatting about it. So you got to review the game, break down the mechanics, look at the history, check the available pricing. So it does take a while. It takes a lot longer to write a Mad Musings, though I'd like to pick it up. Unfortunately, this is supposed to be the slow part of my the year for my job, and somebody forgot to tell that to the customers. Okay. No, I have not done Demon the Fallen. I have never actually played Demon the Fallen. I got out of White Wolf before they started falling apart, and then Demon and Hunter came out, and they kind of killed it. Thank you, Zen Gunman. Yes, I know Recon is its own system, but it's still just one book set in Vietnam, using using a lot of the Palladium stuff. They're just I'm not saying it's impossible to review it. I'm just saying that there might not be enough to make a full video out of. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And like, read the Wikipedia articles, read somebody's review. That's the easiest way to do it. Don't actually try to acquire a copy of the game. Yes. I actually interviewed Gil Gerard for the magazine, and Felix Silva, who played Twiggy. Not Felix. Felix, who played Twiggy. And I learned, do not ask him about the second season, because he will grind his teeth. And I have done the first Dune RPG, which I got from a friend of mine, and this is the second Dune RPG. Yeah. If I ever can find a copy of Cyborg, like I said, I will review anything if I can get my hands on it. I'm trying to catch up from a pretty serious backlog. Yeah, I remember back in the day of ICQ when people would ask you ASL. It was like, so, ASL? I was like, yeah, I'm always up for a game of Advanced Squad Leader. They wouldn't talk to me after that. So, let me see. I've got Nobilis. That was a tricky one to get. That's also a coffee table book. Starhold, which I've only done. The lecture is going fine. We're talking about what goes into making a Mad Musings. Let me see. What else do we have? Reviewed 7C Alien. I have everything. Okay, so yeah, I've done Amber. I got Amber on there, which was fun. Somebody asked me if I wanted to review My Farog, and it's like, I'd rather not review a game that was written by a guy, written by an arsonist and a murderer. Need to look at. I would like to try to get my hands on the Fallout RPG. Let me get through the dozen games I've got on the list. I'm trying to get a copy of Gangbusters. I've got Powers and Perils. The Powers and Perils, for those of you who don't know, and it's kind of an obscure one, was Avalon Hill had a long history of making some of the top-notch board games, and they made some classic stuff. They made Advanced Squad Leader. They made they made just tons and tons of stuff. They made the original Dune board game, which is still a masterpiece. But they had a bad habit of, they did not know how to write an RPG. and they would write it the same way they made a board game. Thank you, Zen. So they made Powers and Perils, which was, I think it's late 70s, early 80s, and it reads like stereo instructions. Like, we figured out how to play it, but the point was, why bother playing it? There's other RPGs that aren't as complicated, aren't as tedious. It's like, don't require you to calculate. What was it? Don't need you to calculate the square root of anything. Let me see, what else? Space 1889, that's on the list. Yes, Space 1889. Totally not John Carpenter of Mars. We promise. Cross our fingers. Somebody wanted me to look at the new Twilight 2000. Again, if I can get a hold of it. And it's like, yeah, I can tell you, there was a guy that walked into the game store I was working at and gave me and said, look, my wife said I had to get rid of all of these old games because I never play them and they're just taking up too much space. And he gave us all these boxed games that we were supposed to sell. And we were supposed to give out and take and divide up so we can play it. Well, I knew the store owner was just going to just take everything, mark it up, and resell it immediately. And the store owner also owed me quite a bit of money because he was cooking the books. Everybody who knows me locally will know exactly who it is, but so I don't have to give out a name, so he doesn't have to say, he's like, oh, we're going to, I'll sue you, because he's that kind of guy. But one of the things was an unpunched copy of Dune, the board game. Avalon Hill. Even smelled like an Avalon Hill game. And it's like, okay, I don't want to touch it. But he is like, I was about to start bouncing checks because he was not paying me what he owed me. So I had to sell it. And I put it up on an auction. And this one guy, it went for like hundreds of dollars on auction. And the guy sent me, the winner says, it's like, if I send you the money, will you ship it overnight? It's like, yeah, I could do that. If you just pay for the shipping. It's like, great. And he immediately... he gave me his address, and he was in Amsterdam. He had me ship it overnight to him in Amsterdam. It was like $75 to ship the board game. And they're like, that's some serious that's some serious love of the Dune board game. And of course, it's been re-released by, I think, Fantasy Flight, but don't quote me. And I mean, there's a lot of RPGs I would love to review. Again, they take longer than just a random D&D video because people want to know the history. They want to know if it's good to play. They want to know if it's feasible. Like if you buy all in on this game, are you actually going to have players? It's like they have you got the Mortal Kombat RPG, but you already have a Street Fighter RPG, which actually isn't that expensive anymore. Though they don't have the license, but somebody actually put out a art-free version of the Street Fighter RPG. Amsterdam Overnight. He wanted that game in his hands. It went for close to $500, I think, which got the people that I owed money to off my back. And and I was like, people always send me games. I was like, I on occasion I get people to send me like PDFs of like, hey, here's my new game. What do you look at it? And then I give a fair opinion, because if I give a biased opinion, nobody's going to trust me anymore. It's like, hey, this is a great game, and you guys like, are we playing the same game? No, you're not playing the same game, because you're playing the press. Like I'm giving you the press release, and you're playing the actual game. Kind of like Cyberpunk 2077. It's like, yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. Look at all this amazing stuff. And it's like, just don't look at your own screen. And, Street Fighter by White Wolf. Yes, it was actually the very first game I ever reviewed before I knew what I was doing. And it's like I'd like to get my hands on the Dallas RPG because that one's there's a Dallas RPG and I think there's a Guiding Light RPG. There's the soap opera RPGs. It's like, hey, let's play that. And it's like, yep, and get that one and a bottle of Jack because you're going to need both. Yeah, it's like, yeah. I'm actually working on the Borgle spell book. That'll be again free for download and just ask for donations. Need to get some art done for it, but the even 3 pieces of art's going to be a little expensive. But like you want it done right, you got to do it. You got to do it, and that's art sells. And let me see. I think I had like one thing on here. Let me see. I don't care about that one. You just got to remember, when you do your game, people are going to homebrew it all to hell. So if you see something changed in your game by a lot of people, and it's always the same change or something similar, if you revise the game, look at putting the actual the homebrew that people keep fixing and put it actually include it into your game. It's almost like modding something. That's something that that some people don't really see. Is like, okay, well, like the Cyberpunk. When we were talking, somebody asked me about the Cyberpunk system. It's like, you have a 1 in 10 chance of automatic failure, which can be really, really bad, and nobody wants to actually play in a game with a system where it's like 1 in 10. So what we did was you could spend your luck points, because that was a stat, and normally you just spent luck points. For every luck point you spend, you get +1 on a roll. Combining all the major White Wolf games into one, the book would be over 1,200 pages. That's going to be your biggest 5 main core books, and then you add Mummy, Demon, and Hunter. Then you add the all the human stuff. Do you cut off Orpheus because that was written after the Storm? I mean, you've got, was it the Arcanum? They're not going to do the Gypsies book, which the Gypsies book wasn't any good. What do you put in? What do you take out? There's no way they could do it as a single book. There's just too much information. My God, there was 70 different changeling breeds. Like, that was one of the problems with changeling. It's like, hey, what's a new book? Let's add 10 more changelings to it. Why? Gott in Himmel. Oh, we got Love Face XYZ. Hold on just a second, guys. I am doing good. I have got my second spammer. Yeah, wow. Deleted.
Well, don't worry about that. Go into your second.
Well, no.
original thought.
I have to do it because it fills up the feed.
Oh.
I mean, it's literally the same thing over and over again repeated.
Yes, but
Yes.
what I'm saying is finish your thought while
Okay.
you're doing this.
Okay. So, yeah, the book would collapse in on itself on the, that would be the problem.
I meant the other thought. Talking about homebrews and...
Okay, yeah. Okay, bye-bye, Saint Ajora. So if players keep fixing something or keep changing a rule, then there's probably something wrong with the rule. So if you're revising your game, take their suggestions into mind, and kick it back to your playtesters if you have to. Let me see. And that's something that you've got to. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm dealing with another spammer. My God, that's like 14 spam messages on this thing. That's actually, I'm actually kind of proud of myself. I've made the big times. Once I get the revised stuff done, like I said, I got to start working on the DMG stuff. I'm going to start putting up snippets again from that one because you really liked that. uh, it's like I'm going through the characters and working on that. And once I get this chapter done, I'll probably see if I can find an editor. I've still got to get Rubus his stuff. No, I'm not. World of Cinnabar actually wasn't scarring. I mean, the game was bad. Don't get me wrong, but I've sat through Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I've sat through Highlander 2. I have a copy of The Apple and Can't Stop the Music on my shelf. And yeah, if you ever want to see, I've actually had people pay me to turn off Can't Stop the Music. Granted, it was a fundraiser, so they were going to give me the money anyways. But when Steve Guttenberg started into the world's longest Mentos commercial in the credits, and people were starting to give us money to turn it off. Yeah, I've got a really high pain threshold. But yeah, World of Cinnabars. It was yeah. Got to figure out how to do that. World of Cinnabar was actually kind of funny to read because the game was just an absolute mess. When you do a series on a system like you did for Cyberpunk, I was looking at maybe Star Wars D6, but right now I've just got so much on my plate that until I finish the reshoots and get more of the DMG written, I really don't have the time for it. You have to get a system that's actually got a lot of books. I mean, I've got all the books for Street Fighter, but nobody wants to hear that one. Yeah, nobody. Like I said, when we did a reverse film festival where we got 5 of the worst musicals, though we've replaced one of them with Cats now, and you gave us money to turn the movie off. Because you can't charge people money to see the movie. But if they give you money and you turn it off and it's free for anybody to watch, then that's how the lawyer got out of... that's how the lawyer told us that would get us out of any lawsuit claim. Because nobody wants to get sued claiming that people were paying us money to make them stop watching their movie. But yeah, if you look up Can't Stop the Music, YMCA, there's not enough brain bleach in the world to help you get past that one. That was, yeah. I'm not going to spoil it. Just, it's harsh. And then we had the Apple with, yeah, that's the one with the being about the apple in hell.
Bejazzled.
Yeah, the Bejazzled.
Bejazzled, but still.
I looked at Knight's Edge a long time ago for Cyberpunk 2020, and we put it down because really didn't do anything. Plus, it's cyberpunk. Most of the supernatural creatures died anyways because if they weren't going down from bullets, people just assumed that they were heavily armored up, and they just switched to explosive, incendiary, or acid rounds. Like they took down a vampire with fire rounds, not knowing it was a vampire, but it was because the guy that shot him a lot just liked to watch people burn. Those were good times. And we didn't do Cyber Generation for the same thing. Yeah. Highlander 2 was contractual obligations. And yeah, it was... Okay, it wasn't as bad as Mortal Kombat 2, but it was... And the other bad musical movies we had, which was Xanadu, which everybody thought, oh, we love Xanadu. And then they remembered, no, they liked 3 songs from Xanadu. They really liked 3 songs from Xanadu. And then they saw the rest of the movie. And it was like, why?
How could you do this to Gene Kelly?
Yeah. Yeah, let's have 70s disco go off in an amp-to-amp challenge with Bandstand. Oh, Gotten Himmel. Yuri, you guys are... Oh, this is Love Face. XYZ. It's like they keep changing it. War games or BattleTech. If you want BattleTech, you want to go listen to Mr. Tex on the Black Pants Legion. I don't know. Normally I'm on Mr. Tex's channel. I don't know if he'd ever come on mine. I could ask him. I mean, we're friends. It's like I could cover Car Wars. I've actually played Car Wars. My brother got got disqualified. Didn't get disqualified, but he invoked a rules change yeah. I've told them to delete everyone. I've told the thing to not show it, but it's like, well, this guy must be good because yeah. I was like, I don't know how to. It's like I've never had a spammer before. I don't know how to get rid of this son of a bitch. Short of, well. Yeah.
Then you don't want to be.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming. Okay, I'm being told that it's dinner time. Thanks for coming out. I've got to go find out how to punch loveface.xyz in the face a lot. I'll be doing this another 2 weeks, and I'll have another topic up, and then hopefully I'll finally have all the cough completely out of my system. I will review anything I can get my hands on. By the way, I will review Heavy Gear. I will review Conan the RPG. If I get my hands on it, I will be glad to talk about it. Oh, I love Cyberpunk 2077. I'm waiting for the new patch because I've played it so many times. I can talk about the Chaos Dwarves. I can talk about my wargaming history. I usually don't watch those people who fake the RPG stories on the internet because I don't have to. I've lived through real RPG stories. Yeah. NFT, the other groups, NFT scammers. Yeah, we actually put together a fake video about NFT, but it was like National Fire Technologies. This thing will be loading up in, I don't know, a few hours afterwards. YouTube does it automatically, but they don't do it fast. Okay, guys. Well, I do have to get going. Thanks for